What's up, everybody? I'm Stella Chung, and this is the Weekly Fix, the show where we round up all the gaming and entertainment headlines you may have missed this week. The sequel to Breath of the Wild finally has a release date. GoldenEye gets a remaster, sort of. And in entertainment, we get some details on Daredevil Born Again, and for some reason, all of the released One Piece issues have been printed onto a single 21,000-page book. Let's get to it. After 5 years, we finally have an official title and release date for the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. As part of today's Nintendo Direct revealed a new trailer for the highly anticipated sequel to Breath of the Wild titled The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Fans got another glimpse of the new open world set on floating islands above Hyrule with tons of vertical space to explore. How this ties into Breath of the Wild and potentially the rest of the series is still a mystery. I can't be the only one who thought Link jumping off a ledge looks like something out of Skyward Sword. But nonetheless, we'll have to wait until Tears of the Kingdom arrives on May 12, 2023. In addition to Breath of the Wild news, we finally have confirmation on the very long-rumored remaster of the Nintendo 64 classic GoldenEye 007. This was also announced during today's Nintendo Direct, and we have confirmation that the iconic shooter will be coming to Nintendo Switch Online. This version of the game will stay relatively similar to the original with the addition of online multiplayer. Shortly after Nintendo dropped the news during the Direct, Rare announced in a tweet a remastered version of the 1997 GoldenEye 007 is also coming to Xbox. Unlike the Switch version, this one will feature fully remastered 4K visuals along with updated controllers and split-screen multiplayer. But there's a catch. Online multiplayer is currently exclusive to the Switch version. But hey, on the bright side, it'll be on Game Pass for no additional charge. So, winning! We've been waiting for this announcement ever since GoldenEye 007's achievements seemingly leaked on the website True Achievements earlier this year. The original game was an N64 exclusive, but its developer Rare has since been acquired by Microsoft, so nobody was quite sure if this would be part of an Xbox or Nintendo presentation. Well, now we know! But one thing we don't know is when GoldenEye will be released. The leaked achievements made me think we'll see it sooner than later, but your guess is as good as mine. And lastly, after years of waiting to hear more about Pikmin 4, Shigeru Miyamoto finally let the cat out of the bag on the next title, if only just a little. During the Nintendo Direct, Miyamoto stopped by to announce that the next Pikmin would finally be released on the Nintendo Switch in 2023. Back in 2015, Miyamoto offered an official statement stating the game was, quote, very close to completion. We don't have a hard release date for this one either, but expect it sometime in 2023.
All right, now yesterday we told you about how the beloved N64 shooter GoldenEye 007 is officially being re-released for Nintendo Switch and Xbox, and in a perfect world, that would be the whole dang story, but there's a stupid amount of fine print. Now, too long didn't read, Nintendo Switch is getting a fairly cut and dried port of the original N64 game, but with the notable addition of online multiplayer. Now, Xbox is getting an up-res version of the game, which is being billed as a 4K remaster rather than just a re-release. But the catch is that it does not have online multiplayer. Now, there's still 4-player split screen, but if you want to blow up your friends with proximity mines, they have to be in physically close proximity, or you have to do it on Switch. Now, it gets weirder though. Neither of these is the same as the remake that was in the works around a decade ago for Xbox Live Arcade. Now, this version leaked a while back, and it featured fully overhauled graphics and textures, but with a feature that allowed players to toggle between modern and classic appearance. Now, from the looks of it, that version was pretty far along, but allegedly Nintendo came in and shut it down entirely. Now, the reason this is so convoluted is that the original game was a Nintendo 64 platform exclusive developed by Rare, based on the 007 license. Not like James Bond's License to Kill, the license for companies to make stuff based in that universe. Now, anyway, Microsoft acquired Rare back in 2002, and the James Bond license got shuffled between Electronic Arts and Activision. In 2010, a modern reimagining of GoldenEye 007 was released for Wii that adapted the original game to take place between Quantum of Solace and Skyfall, swapping out Pierce Brosnan's Bond for Daniel Craig's. Now that eventually came to PS3 and 360 as GoldenEye 007 Reloaded, but it unfortunately exists in the weird limbo of licensed games. Now maybe now that Activision is owned by Microsoft, it'll become backwards compatible, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, none of this is to be confused with the upcoming 007 game from Hitman developers IO Interactive, which likely won't be released until March of 2025 at the earliest, or the decompiled PC version of GoldenEye that N64 modders reverse engineered, or the very first level of GoldenEye recreated by a fan in Far Cry 5's level editor. Now, this just goes to show you how much of a rat's nest game preservation can be, especially when it comes to licensed properties. Now, comparatively, if you want to watch GoldenEye, you can buy the Blu-ray for $8, rent it digitally for $4, or stream it for free on Prime Video, thanks to Amazon's recent acquisition of MGM Films, who own the Bond movie rights. Speaking of guys who kick people's asses while wearing finely tailored suits, RGG Studios, the team behind the Yakuza games, have announced 2 brand new Yakuza games, and that's on top of the remaster revealed at yesterday's PlayStation State of Play. Now, for starters, we got a teaser for Yakuza 8, aka Like a Dragon 8. Now, this looks to continue the adventures of the newest protagonist, Ichiban Kasuga, who was introduced in 2020's Yakuza Like a Dragon. Turn-based combat will return, but this time around, Ichiban will be joined by the original dragon-like hero, Kazuma Kiryu, who will command a party of his very own. Now, the developers claim this is the largest Yakuza game to date, so it's no surprise that it's still a ways off, not slated for release until 2024. In the meantime, we'll find out what Kazuma Kiryu has been up to between Yakuza 6 and 8 with Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Now, this will be a side story about half the size of a mainline Yakuza game and will still feature real-time beat-em-up combat, though this seems counterintuitive to the teaser where Kiryu is praying in a temple asking for forgiveness. And if you missed it, Yakuza Ishin will be out early next year. Now, this features a bunch of familiar faces in a totally new setting, essentially having the cast of Yakuza playing the role of samurai in a fictionalized 1860s version of Kyoto. Now, this is a full overhaul of the original Ishin, which came out in 2014, but was only released in Japan. Now, this is exciting for fans, but probably even more exciting for the developers because fans will finally stop pestering them about it. Now, if that wasn't enough Yakuza adjacent news, it's been announced that the series spin-offs Judgment and Lost Judgment are both available on Steam today. Now, Yakuza wasn't the only beloved game series to have its 8th installment revealed this week, and Tekken 8 got a full trailer during the PlayStation State of Play as well. And while it might look like a pre-rendered cutscene, we're told this is in-engine footage running in real time on the PS5. Now, it might still be a cutscene, but we can definitely expect this to be an impressive showcase of next-gen hardware, and it'll be coming to Series X and S and PC, as well as PS5. Now, there's no word yet on when it'll be coming out, but Tekken fans at least have something to look forward to. With all the breaking news surrounding the upcoming Disney Plus Marvel series Daredevil Born Again, the main question a lot of fans have is, will it continue where the Netflix series left off? Will it acknowledge any of the events that occurred in the series? And who will return outside of Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio? Well, according to Daredevil himself, Charlie Cox suggests that the answer lies in the series title Born Again being the dead giveaway as to the direction the series is taking. And speaking to media outlet Extra, Cox confirmed that while speaking with Kevin Feige, he described the show to be less of a continuation of the Netflix series and more of a new beginning. Now, Cox added, quote, "It is a season 1, it is not season 4, so it is a whole new thing," which I think is the way to go. If you are going to do it again, do it differently. Now that Daredevil is officially part of the overall MCU, it kind of makes sense that they kind of want to do a soft reboot of the franchise, working in other narratives that are served to connect Daredevil to the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now we've seen that with Matt Murdock in No Way Home and Kingpin in Hawkeye. Now we'll be seeing those two characters return in the all-new Daredevil series when it's reborn on Disney Plus in 2024, and they'll be popping up elsewhere in the MCU before then on the Disney Plus show Echo, which premieres next summer. In other news, now if you're a fan of One Piece, then you'll likely want to consider picking up this oversized compendium containing every single One Piece issue so far. Now, it's a bit of a hefty boy, so you probably won't be reading this while you're on the toilet, as the book contains 21,450 pages, combining 25 years of the manga. And while it's obviously impractical, it's also freaking expensive. At nearly $2,000, publisher JBE Books only produced 50 copies of the largest book in the world, apparently. And with that price tag, you also get it autographed by the artist and a fancy case, because, you're worth it. But low-key, who would really want something like this? Like, maybe reading One Piece is easier if it's, not in just one big piece? Do you have strong opinions about this? Jump in the comments and give me one piece of your mind. And finally, Cavill and company have wrapped on season 3 of The Witcher. Executive producer Steve Gobb confirmed it with this post on his IG account, giving us a very subtle behind-the-scenes look at a bookshelf from the show. So, bookshelves confirmed, I guess? So we here at IGN got the exclusive premiere of the season 2 trailer for sci-fi Chucky. So me and my good guy here, Chucky, are gonna break down what you can expect. Isn't that right, Chucky?
Yeah, that's right. Now quit talking and roll the clip.
Oh, okay. Okay, so here we go. After the events of season 1, where we see our boy Andy taking off with a van full of Chucky-possessed good guy dolls, it appears Jake, Devin, and Lexi are sent off to a facility for troubled youths, which appears to be a Catholic school. And now it seems Tiffany, Chucky's ex-gal pal, is now his enemy. Actress Jennifer Tilly is of course along for the ride, but we also have the return of the demonic doll version of Tiffany. Now, Chucky reveals in the trailer that he would have taken over the world if it weren't for Tilly, which is crazy to think that that is his current modus operandi, as if, he's taken a few pages from the book of Pinky and the Brain.
Come, Pinky. Let us prepare for tomorrow night.
What are we going to do tomorrow night?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
But it makes sense for this to be a goal of his now, as Charles Lee Ray's soul has now splintered off into every single good guy doll in the world, including this one right here. Now, it's kind of crazy to think that good guy dolls are still floating around, and even more crazy that Andy, the kid from the first Child's Play film, has now devoted his entire adult life to hunting down every single version of this doll. It's a sad life to live, but I guess someone's gotta kill you, right? Shut up! Okay, I will. Anyways, we also see the return of Chucky and Tiffany's kid, Glenda, now split into 2 different human forms. Now, this is an obvious callback to the Seed of Chucky movie, in which we've seen their bouncing baby for the very first time. Now, Nika Pierce is back with both arms and legs gone. As we know from season 1, Tiffany was fearful of Chucky repossessing her body, and this was done as a means to completely render Chucky defenseless. And we also got our hands on this exclusive poster showing us that Chucky is ready to raise some holy hell in his very own version of Game of Thrones. And we'll be seeing this good guy up to no good come October 5th. Now, let me just get this thing out of my hands. He stuck the landing, I swear. Now, in other news, Crunchyroll has something special for New York Comic Con attendees. That if you can't wait for October 11th to catch the premiere of the Chainsaw Man anime, Crunchyroll will be premiering it during its dubbed cast panel on October 7th. Along with a conversation with the US voice actors, fans will get to watch the very first episode and brag to all their friends and the internet. For 4 days at least. Now, if you've got your tickets to NYCC and you're a fan of the manga, consider yourself lucky. Finally, speaking of lucky, the boys over at Channel 5 have partnered with A24 to release their very first documentary off the YouTube platform. HBO has acquired rights to Andrew Callahan's documentary about the January 6th Capitol riot, according to an exclusive reveal from Variety. Now, fans of his Channel 5 content can definitely expect similar humor and eccentric interview subjects reminiscent of those found on the YouTube channel. Now, there's no release date just yet for the documentary, but we'll let you know.
It's time to take a quick break. When we return, we'll take a look at an Office Easter egg in The Last of Us Part 1 and why the King of the Hill reboot may not come to Fox. Stick around. Welcome back. After 15 years, Halo Studio founder Bonnie Ross has left 343 Industries, and Cyberpunk studio CD Projekt Red is issuing refunds for some Xbox owners. But before that, we get into why King of the Hill may not return to Fox. Let's take a look.
King of the Hill creators Mike Judge and Greg Daniels have been talking about this series making a return for a while, and while it's still very possible, it doesn't sound like Fox will have any part in it. Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, Fox Entertainment President Michael Thorne stated point blank, quote, "That's not going to be with Fox." He went on to add, "We love that team and we love that show. It's obviously part of our animation legacy, but where we're really focusing on animation is launching the next wave of our signature animated series while still having our great legacy shows." Back in January, Judge and Daniels launched a new animation company, Bandera Entertainment, and earlier this summer, Judge oversaw the return of Beavis and Butthead on Paramount Plus, in the form of an original movie followed by an all-new series. But it unfortunately sounds like King of the Hill is still up in the air. If Fox doesn't want to produce the show, let's hope they're at least cooperative with the rights, assuming another network or streaming service does. The Netflix original series Squid Game broke all kinds of records worldwide, and its star, Lee Jong-jae, has just accepted his first major American studio role as the male lead in the upcoming Disney Plus Star Wars series, The Acolyte. We don't know a ton about The Acolyte. It's said to be a mystery thriller taking place during the High Republic era, which is around 300 years before the events of the original trilogy. The series will be the first time we see this era on screen, but it's slowly being fleshed out by way of books and comics. A few other names are attached to The Acolyte. Leslie Helland is showrunning, who was behind the Netflix hit Russian Doll. Actress Jodie Turner-Smith has also been cast in an undisclosed role. The Acolyte is set to premiere sometime in 2023, but if they're only just nailing down the male lead, it's possible we may not see it until later. Following yesterday's actual real-world news that Queen Elizabeth II passed away at the age of 96, it's not surprising to hear that the Netflix series The Crown will be taking a hiatus. Season 5 of The Crown is set to premiere in November, and Season 6 is still in production. But Deadline reports that writer Peter Morgan says the show will stop filming out of respect. In a brief statement, he explained, quote, "The Crown is a love letter to her, and I have nothing to add for now, just silence and respect. I expect we will stop filming out of respect too." Actress Claire Foy already portrayed a young Queen Elizabeth in earlier seasons, and Imelda Staunton is set to portray an older version in the upcoming season. There's no word yet on whether or not her passing will result in Season 5's premiere being postponed.
Yesterday, Bonnie Ross, 343 Industries founder and corporate vice president of Xbox Game Studios, announced her leave from the company. Ross released a statement on her Twitter that she originally planned to leave the company after Halo Infinite's winter update, but is leaving early to attend a family medical issue. She went on to say, "It has been an honor to serve alongside the team for the last 15 years and to be a part of the universe that I love. Thank you to everyone in the Halo community for your support. Halo's future is bright. I cannot wait for all of you to experience what we have in store and to cheer alongside you as a fan at the Halo World Championship in October." Microsoft confirmed that Ross's role will be split into 3 different roles, with production lead Pierre Hintz becoming the new studio head of 343 and oversee the development of Halo Infinite, the Master Chief Collection, and any future studio projects. The other 2 roles will be general manager of franchise and business, and operations lead being filled by Brian Koski and Elizabeth Van Wyck. While it's sad to see Ross go, it seems Halo is in good hands with keeping the restructuring internal, and hopefully we see more updates coming soon. And I'm very excited to see how the Halo World Championship will go in October. During the upper bracket semifinal yesterday, DRX challenged Loud in the first map of their match, but it still ended with Loud scoring 13-11. On the next map, Haven, Loud won swiftly with a 13-6 victory. Loud secured the first spot in the upper bracket final, making it so if they win the next match, they'll be in for the grand final. For DRX, they'll be continuing their run through the lower bracket to try and stay in the VCT. DRX will be competing against EU's Fnatic, who recently lost to Xset. FunPlus Phoenix and Exit will also be competing alongside each other in the lower bracket, while Loud moves on to the upper bracket final against Optic, which takes place September 16th. The 16th will also be the lower bracket semifinal, followed by the 17th with the lower final, and finally the 18th, then hosting the grand final. Which team are you rooting for VCT 2022? Let us know.
Earlier this week, CD Projekt Red announced that future DLC for Cyberpunk 2077 would not be supported by last-gen consoles, which has upset some players, especially the ones who bought a limited edition last-gen bundle that promised access to the upcoming expansion. Before its release, limited edition Cyberpunk 2077 themed Xbox One X consoles were sold that included the full game, along with an IOU for future expansions, which were still a long ways off at the time of the game's initial launch. After CD Projekt Red's announcement this week to release the next expansion, Phantom Liberty, only on current-gen consoles and PC, fans took to Reddit to post their frustrations on the void no promise made. As such, the studio quietly addressed the concerns, stating that the last-gen limited edition console owners are to be reimbursed with Microsoft Store credit. There are no details on how many credits or even when console owners would receive the reimbursement, but CD Projekt Red is telling fans to stay tuned for more details. And hey, if you bought one of those limited edition Cyberpunk Xboxes, you might want to look into this. In better news relating to Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red has released an official modding tool that will allow players to create and install their own mods into the PC version of the game. Announced alongside the latest expansion on Red Stream, CD Projekt's Red Mod is a tool that allows players to integrate custom sounds, animations, scripts, and other user-generated content. The studio promises regular updates for the modding tool as it continues to release patches for Cyberpunk 2077. Any mod created outside the new tool will still work, and the popular modding website Nexus Mods added instructions on how the two services will work side by side. Red Mod is an entirely optional part of the game branded as a DLC. However, users can still continue to use the old modding systems if they prefer. And lastly, legendary nerd and iconic actor Will Wheaton will reprise his role from Star Trek: The Next Generation, but this time Wesley Crusher won't be some pushover. Announced as part of Star Trek Day, the sci-fi MMO Star Trek Online will see its Ascension update transport its players into the mirror universe with Wesley Crusher as the storyline's villain. In addition to Emperor West as an added arc, players can also expect missions involving Captain Killy, Star Trek Discovery's Cadet Tilly's alternate, and Admiral Lita. The update will see 5 new Player Ground Task Force operations and Elite Officers upgrade systems, including a new event, the Emperor's Will, which will unlock T6 Terran Somerville starships. Star Trek Online's Ascension update will be released on September 13th.
Naughty Dog is no stranger to sprinkling little Easter eggs in their video games. Now, 2020's The Last of Us Part 2 had a few nods to other video games like Jak and Daxter, Hotline Miami, just to name a few. Now, in the recently released The Last of Us Part 1, an eagle-eyed TikTok user spotted an Easter egg not to another video game, but a TV show. As shared by Naughty Dog Central, this TikTok user noticed the layout of an abandoned office looked a whole hell of a lot like another famous office. The Office, NBC's hit mockumentary workplace sitcom based on the hit BBC mockumentary workplace sitcom that ran from 2005 to 2013. Now, in the video shared on TikTok, the location for this office appears to be in the Pittsburgh section of the game, which is not exactly Scranton, but it's still Pennsylvania. Now, as the player moves around the abandoned office, you can see where the conference room is, Michael Scott's office, the curved receptionist desk, and the front door with the couch, which is behind the barricade of couches seen in the video. Now, Jim and Dwight's block of desks doesn't seem to be intact, but it's possible whoever was in this office last used them to set up one of the barricades. Now, this isn't exactly a one-to-one recreation of the iconic office, but it looks close enough that we don't think this was a coincidence. Now, what do y'all think of this? Is this just a playful nod to the show or random happenstance? And do you think the characters from The Office would have survived the apocalypse? Now, what other iconic sitcom set would you like to visit in a video game? Well, let's discuss in the comments down below. All right, Samurai, switching gears to the world of Cyberpunk 2077. Now, CD Projekt Red's VP of Business Development confirmed that the company is, quote, totally fully committed to more Cyberpunk. Now, in a recent earnings call, the VP said, quote, "We've put a lot of effort and time into building this franchise, and we definitely want to continue to build upon what was built right now, with new stories, new experiences, new content, basically. Not just the video game format. In terms of expansions, there's just going to be one major expansion. However, there's going to be new stuff in the future. So it sounds like we can expect more stories set in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. In fact, the official Cyberpunk anime series Edge Runners premieres today on Netflix. Now maybe we'll see more projects like that, or movies, books, comics, podcasts, and so on. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 has no shortage of lore, and there's plenty more to be mined from the original pen and paper board game that inspired it. Now, as for more Cyberpunk games, there's still that, previously announced multiplayer component. Now, we haven't heard anything about that in ages, it seems like, but CDPR hasn't officially canned that, so we have to assume it's still coming.
I'm Stella Chung, and that was your weekly fix. We'll be back here next Saturday with more of the biggest gaming and entertainment news of the week. See you then.